أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Apologies for the late start. So, inshallah, we are starting a new surah, Surah Al-Burooj. This is a Mecca surah, and it mainly talks about some people of the ditch, or the makers of some ditch, within the context of its revelation. This is at a time where believers were like being mistreated by the Meccans, and the surah is referring to this sort of an enemy-like treatment by certain people to the followers of the messenger. So, and let's briefly read the whole surah. It is 22 verses. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ. By the skies possessed of constellations, and by the promised day, and by the witness and the witnessed. قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. Doomed be the makers of the ditch. النَّارِ ذَاتِ الْوَقُودِ إِذْ هُمْ عَلَيْهَا قُعُودٌ. Of the fuel-fed fire when they sat by it. وَهُمْ عَلَى مَا يَفْعَلُونَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ شُهُودٌ. And were themselves the witnesses of what they did to the believers. وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. They wanted to take revenge from them for nothing but they believed in Allah, the Mighty, the Owner of praise. الَّذِي لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ. Him unto whom belongs the sovereignty of the heavens and the earth, and Allah is of all things the witness. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَتُوبُوا فَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ الْحَرِيقِ. Indeed, they who persecute the believing man and believing woman and repent not, theirs verily will be the doom of hell, and theirs the doom of burning. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير. Indeed, for those who believe and do good works, theirs will be gardens. Walaikum salam. Theirs will be gardens underneath which rivers flow. That is the great success. إن بطش ربك لشديد إنه هو يبدئ ويعيد. Indeed, the punishment of your Lord is stern, and indeed it is who creates and recreates. وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد. And he is the forgiving, the loving, Lord of the throne of glory, doer of what he wills. هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود. Has there come unto you the story of the hosts, حديث الجنود, or the armies of Pharaoh and Thamud, the tribe of Thamud, فرعون وثمود. بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب. Nay, but those who disbelieve live in denial. وَاللَّهُ مِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ مُحِيطٌ. And Allah, all unseen, surrounds them. Or Allah surrounds them from their behind. بَلْ هُوَ قُرْآنٌ مَجِيدٌ. But this is a glorious Qur'an, فِي لَوْحٍ مَحْفُوظٍ, on a guarded tablet. So this is the surah. So Meccan surahs are short, very cryptic sort of verses. And let's try to see what we can get out of the surah. And as many of the surahs that we have been studying lately, this surah is again starting with 3 words of oath. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ. By the skies that possesses constellations, وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ, and by the promised day, وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ, and by the witness and the witnessed. Very interesting 3 verses. And as we have been discussing before, those words of oath is for, first of all, attracting my attention. Second of all, something else will follow, but that which comes after should be based on or verified by these words of oath. But these words of oath in the first place needs to be self-evident, so that it's going to become an evidence for what will come next. And it should be relatable, of course. It shouldn't be a totally unrelated. So whatever is going to be established in here will become a proof for what will follow. This is why understanding those verses are important. So, وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ, the heavens or the skies and constellations. So, what is the significance of constellations? Or what's constellation in the first place, if we take it as the constellation? And why is our attention being brought to the skies and constellations? Just to give a little bit of an extra information about this word buruj, like the word burj means something that attracts attention. And the castles have those round corners and whatnot, which is higher than the rest of its city walls. They are also called burj. And the reason that it's called as burj is because when you look at the castle, this is what attracts your attention first. But it simply became the name of those, if you like, guarding towers of those castles. Likewise, at the night sky, those constellations are also called burj. When you look at the sky, you start seeing certain patterns in there. So people, like it had been called al-Burooj as well. And now this verse is saying that was وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ, skies which has al-Burooj, so those constellations. What's the significance of that? This must be something so self-evidently important, or by looking at it, I should be arriving to a certain conclusion so that things are going to be built up upon that. What is it? What is the significance of those constellations? What do you think? What do they tell you? Atik?
Yes, the fact that you can see patterns, it means it's intentional. When you place them there, it can be seen in a certain way. It's not like random. You're just making random patterns.
Okay. So pattern, then can we say that the pattern indicates some sort of an order? And not random, but ordered. And order highlights an orderer. This is why my attention is being brought to those patterns in the night sky. Okay, what else? And actually, we can ask further questions about those patterns too. Because, yes, Zareen has something to say there.
No, you can continue.
Okay, so my question would be, let me see, there's a comment here. Let me first read the comment. Okay, Dua says they can help with navigation. Historically, we have also learned about the Earth time using constellations and stars. So they tell us about the Earth and they tell us about directions. So they're important for humans' navigation. That's correct. That's good. But when we look at it from where we are, we see them as a certain pattern, right? If we were looking at it from elsewhere, probably they wouldn't look like a constellation, would they? Like they're lining up in a certain way from where you're looking at them, and hence you call them a constellation. And I can say, well, Atik, it's just an illusion to you. You're making it up, man. It's like there's nothing as a constellation, really. It's your perception. It's not real. You cook it up for yourself.
And in 3D space, they're not even that line. One is here, another one is means your way.
Yeah. And from looking at this angle, we see them projected into our eyes. We see them as if they're like flat and lying on the same surface. But yeah, they are quite far apart. So it's in your imagination, you're connecting the dots and trying to make something out of it. So, which could be extrapolated, right? Like in your life as well, things are happening and you start seeing a pattern out of it. And then somebody comes out and says, well, I mean, you're just making it up. Like you're connecting the dots, but in your imagination. What do you think? Because in night sky, when I see those constellations, I mean, they, from one angle, they can show me order, but from another angle, one can dispute and say that you are, like, it's not out there, it is in your head, really, in your imagination, it's not real. Yeah.
Why should we be worried about perspectives that do not belong to our? If we see it and it makes sense, why should we be concerned with what we are not seeing? Some hypothetical.
Very good question. Actually, the topic will come there because somebody will be bothered by your perspective. You will see something like a pattern. Based on this pattern, you will arrive to a conclusion such as, oh, there's order, there must be an orderer, and you will live a life like this. And somebody will come and say, I am bothered by your perspective, and I would like to throw you into a pit of fire, which we will question eventually. But is the first part, in our personal life, this is how you would feel, right? Somebody comes and draws a constellation over your car with a knife. You would say that, well, somebody damaged my car because it looks like a hate speech is written on your car. And police comes and says, well, it's just coincidence that those lines make a racial slur. Actually, I mean, it's not intentional. Nobody meant this really. You're just imagining it in your head, the police says, and the case is dismissed. So observing a pattern, and you're so sure that somebody made it, but another person comes and says, no, it's not. Like you're just overthinking, or you are loading this meaning to those meaningless lines over your car's food. You had something to say there.
I was actually going to make a similar point to go on about the
Oh.
navigation.
For navigation, right? So again, if you go with was and your comment, then having a utility in my life for navigation, for example. So this is why I would say, well, but I do benefit from that pattern that I observe there. It's useful for me. I benefit from it. So this is why if somebody comes and says, well, you're cooking it up in your head, I would say, well, but it's working for me. It matches my reality. There's something that it fits in me. So then what? This is how you will live life, isn't it? You experience it. If it works for you, if it works with your reality, you will go with it. If it goes against your reality, you abandon it. Like the perspective I observe helps me. So why shall I not accept this? What else out there is there for me to adopt for myself? But let me paraphrase my sentence. How would you adopt something for yourself in life? if it fits your reality. Like, why do you drink water and why do you not drink poison? Because drinking water is functioning this body. Without it, it doesn't function. So you see that it is organic, it is based on how this body is meant to function. Water fulfills this. So this is why I would like to drink water. Now, seeing a pattern is also having a match in your existence. Once you see that pattern, you say that, oh, it makes sense to me. Just like water makes sense to your tongue, water makes sense to your body. Seeing a certain patterns, you say, oh, yeah, actually it makes sense to me. But somebody comes out and says, well, you are making it up. It doesn't happen when you drink water and your body gets quenched. People don't say, well, you're making it up. Well, you see, my body is flourishing if I drink water. How about seeing a pattern in this existence? Again, it works as Dua was saying. I see this pattern and I say, oh, here's north. Yeah, it works. But how about seeing a pattern in the existence? Call it an order. And I say, there must exist an order. And I start living by that. And the outcome of it is, again, visible in my life. Positive outcome of it. But then somebody comes out and says, well, you're making it up. It's not real. What is real? Why is water more real and the benefit of water is more real than the meaning of this pattern? So this is one meaning that I would like to go with, Al-Burooj. Yes.
So just to leave the discussion of writing. So one problem with such an approach to patterns would be, I guess, a loose definition of pattern. So maybe we should expand what we mean with the pattern.
Okay.
Otherwise, we have a word which we use to refer to seeing things that they don't exist and see some patterns, delusion. So where the line starts, like I walk on the street and I say every time I see a red light, there is such a car passing by, I'm just making, and I'm trying to make sense of it. So, well, where is the line there? Like, what do we mean pattern?
Yeah, Qadir, what do you think? Where does delusion starts? Where does
Makes like personally when you stop looking at things from like the creator's perspective and then you just start looking at like from your own perspective, it's like how they're benefiting you and then you start making those things up like anything. Can't come up with an example, but like for example, studying is like you start studying and then you think like, okay, if I study then it's a must, then I must like get good grades, and you start building up that pattern. But if you look at it through the creator's perspective, you're just praying, and if the prayer is answered, alhamdulillah, not, then maybe. That is one thing that would come to mind, is like where you can draw a line as for the pattern.
okay?
I'm relating it to what we're doing on the Friday discussion, where I feel like if it's a pattern, then someone else has to see it too. Otherwise, it's a delusion. Because if you're the only one seeing it and there's no one to confirm it, then maybe you're only seeing it from the perspective you're seeing it. Because if you look at something that's huge from super far away, you might say, oh, that's super small. But someone that's near to it might say, oh, no, it's better. I'm seeing it from this side.
I see.
So there needs to be another confirmation
So
of the
if
same thing.
I see. So I guess then in this case, the question is the delusion meaning, am I making it up totally by myself? If I can confirm it by a second, third, other perspective, then that means it's a thing that is acceptable by human in general.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense. Which is why I will go and ask to other people, I will ask the Prophet and whatnot to see this is what I am seeing or how I'm experiencing doesn't make sense to you. But I guess even more generally, So I would share it with others, sure. First and foremost, does it fit to me? So this is how I would take it. So let's see if that makes sense, Brother Bikram. So is it working or is it aligned with my reality as a human being? Is it helping, like the water helps my body? Is the pattern that I observe being confirmed by me as a human being, by my reality? So that would be my number one way to say that this is being confirmed by my creator. Because water, when I drink water, by him giving me health, he is actually confirming that, yes, water is good for you. I allow you to drink water. This is part of it. But then, of course, I would like to go and confirm with others saying that, look, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? Is this something that makes sense to you? Am I doing things wrong? This is where I will need prophet, meaning divine guidance will come along with a human example who is going to confirm what I'm doing. What do you think, Raja Bhukan, since you asked the question?
So what I think might be a little bit controversial.
Okay.
But jokes aside, I think even I mean, I asked the question, not believing in it. So the word delusion or just the common patterns that everybody can see and so on and so forth, it always starts with an assumption that there is a fixed world outside, right? A true world, and I'm trying to discover it. So that's the assumption usually. And when we start with such an assumption, we say, okay, what I see is either true or not wrong, and I need to confirm it, either by testing this way or that way, and so on and so forth. But it seems in reality, there's no such thing. What you have, your experiences, right? You experience something, and it is never about you discovering the truth of things. You just ask for it, and you need to be given what is right and what is wrong. So when you look the reality from this perspective, that my creator constantly creating something in front of me, which is totally true by his will, right? There is no such thing as an objective reality that belongs to objects. It's my creator. If he wills to create this way, he creates this way. If he creates the will that way, he creates that way. And I'm just trying to understand what he wills from me, right? How he is pleased by, and so on and so forth. So when this is the perspective, there's no such thing as delusions or the opposite of it. Is it just whether am I doing the thing that I'm supposed to do from my creator's perspective or not? And there is always how to say it, like now you don't have to worry whether you are making it up or not, because your creator is always with you, always creating for you. And when you start to make wrong choices, he will guide you. He will tell you that you are making the wrong choices through different channels. It could be some other people warning you. It could be the prophet in his narrations and so on and so forth reaching to you. Or it could be some inspiration that you receive, or emotions, the ideas that are being created. Not because there is a fixed reality out there that everybody has to confirm, but because your creator is warning you that this is not what you are supposed to do. I'm not sure if this is clear.
Okay. Kadir has a comment there.
I maybe like just extrapolate a bit on this, and the previous side that we read, like the line Fajuraha wa taqwa, that we've given you the consciousness of good and bad. So I would say it's like delusion when you try to convince yourself of things, and then there is something in your heart that is like, or in your consciousness that is telling you that no, this is wrong. Like every time you do something wrong, there is something that tells you you did this thing wrong. So I think that is the biggest factor that we can differentiate for ourselves. Like, am I being delusional right now, or am I being like on the right path? It's like, in your own self most of the times. Like, even if these patterns are repeating, I'm making myself believe them. And I think probably everyone knows what they're doing.
So this would be hard to explain to someone who's an atheist, that because they might just say that what you're thinking is delusion, because if like whatever like Kadir said that we have a moral compass that tells us if it's wrong or right, then if a person who's a disbeliever might say, oh, it is evolution that has led to all these changes, and they truly believe it, they feel no remorse over it. So I don't think that's a good definition of how to differentiate between delusion and pattern.
Okay, what else, folks? It's opening up as Brother Bilkan wanted to. You wanted to
Can I
talk?
talk?
Yes, please go ahead.
I was thinking, this first sentence is also referring to movement for me. Like when I look at the sky, I observe a movement, like the movement of clouds or the movement of the day itself. So the sky starts off as, bright and then it gets darker throughout the day. And then when I look at constellations, like I think it was the Greek philosophers who like saw these different patterns and then they didn't see them in the same place and they realized that, either the sky was moving or the earth was moving or whatever, but it basically just tells you that things are going somewhere. Like they have a path that they're traveling down and they have like a certain destination that they're moving towards. And I think that like then ties into how we have a destination, how we are all moving towards the promised state.
So, Jazakallah khair. So now let's revisit the next two verses and then come back to this topic. وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ. So the promised day. And it's al-yawm al-maw'ud, so it is like something definitely known by you. Which day is that? Do you feel promised to see a certain day? Yeah.
Two things come to mind. One is the day of judgment, and the other one is the day you die, the day you pass away.
Okay.
Like death is certain, so you're going to see a day when you die.
So you will definitely die, so you're sure about that. How about day of judgment? Like, is it a day that you feel like you're promised to see? Do you feel like you're promised to be judged? Because day of judgment means human feeling like I am going to be held accountable. Somebody will come after me. This is what it sounds like. Does human have this feeling that, yes, I make those choices, but am I like, can I freely choose and no consequence is going to happen? Do we have this feeling or not?
In a sense that, again, the moral compass that we have, that if we do something wrong, that feeling of that's telling you that this is not okay to do, I feel like that is an indication of there is something to come. That's why you feel this is wrong to do.
Yeah. Yes, Adish.
At a personal level, it's like you're not ready for me. Like, I would say I'm not ready for myself to be judged, but it's like the injustices that I see is like I think like there is retribution at the end. That is what makes me believe. But as for myself, like when I'm committing, like I'm doing something bad, I wouldn't consider it myself. Like that is what I'm saying from a personal example. But I do believe in that because of all the other things that I see in the world and everything. Even with my personal life, when I think I've been wrong, there is retribution for that. And then another thing is like one day where it all makes sense when it is explained to you.
Okay. Sorry.
And thinking of my like experience in like my PhD program as an example. So, like I could like basically do, theoretically, I could do whatever I want in my lab and like do whatever experiments I would like to do if like my advisor may not be as like hands-on or directing me as much. So there could be this, like, I could make whatever choices I want potentially. But then let's say like I have some sort of like presentation coming up or a deadline. So that is a day I will be judged by my peers, for example, to see, you know, oh, did you actually make any progress in what you were supposed to do? Are you doing something like that makes sense to us? Like, so seeing that sort of like day of judgment, I guess, like maybe not on the scale of like the end times, but just like in my day-to-day life, that sort of like day would hold me accountable. Like I would do the experiments that I need to do to, you know, successfully pass through that day and like, I guess, get good feedback. So I guess there are like maybe moments like this throughout my life where there might be a day in like my work, school, or maybe even personal life, like just like anything, like some sort of like trip or something that I'm like dreading or looking forward to. Like these days that kind of come up that seem like I'm preparing myself for it in some manner. So
And we do that because of a reason, right? In this existence, this action reaction is so much so observed that now we call it as a physical law. Like you push this direction with this much force, and then you're going to be pushed with the same amount of force in the reverse direction. Or you put a seed on the ground, and then a tree is going to be given back to you. Actually, this is the motive of our whole life. You are putting grain so that you're going to get the new grains out of there, put it into the mill, get flour, make bread and whatnot. So doing something because we would like to get some return out of it. This is how the order is set up, which sets the question for human. How about, it looks like I am having this outcome, like there are being consequences of my choices. But how about the choices that I am transgressing maybe? Like I am stealing from someone. Is this going to be non-consequential? Like I go and steal from you, and then police comes and like catches me up, for example. So this feeling of whenever you make a choice, you feel like somebody is responding to you anyways in this life. If you jump from here, death is going to be given to you, a consequence is being given. So it looks like whatever I do, somebody is listening or watching over and immediately giving me a response. And then you start developing this sense of, there are things that I feel like maybe I will get away with this. But then something in me says, are you sure? Look at everything else in your life. You take a step and you're just moving this way, which is an, again, action reaction. You take a choice and you immediately get its consequence. How about the choices that you feel like you can get away with it? Are you really sure that you're not going to see their response? So sometimes we call it as moral compass and whatnot within this common discourse. An atheist worldview would say that, oh, it's all something you make up. I don't have any moral value. You were raised in such and such a family. This is why you are feeling so much stressed when you do this sort of a thing. So, and then that person says, well, I don't have such worries because I'm not raised up in you. But it's not a matter of this. That's why I would like to save the discussion from the word of moral compass, since it alludes to a certain discourse. Let's get away from that discourse. In this life, whatever you do observe a response. This is why you develop this sense of, my choices are being responded. You call it nature responds it. Well, but it's within an order. Like I put the seed and a new plant is coming back. Like it's an orderly response. then I should question myself, how about those things which I feel like I'm getting away with it? Then I start developing this very strong sense of whomever was, whatever was responding back with this new plant once I put this seed over there. Because you put the seed and you forget about it. But somebody doesn't forget the seed and creates a plant for you, right? How about my choices? So, وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ, within me, I know that things are going to be brought back to me. I'm going to see this back. I'm going to see a response, a reaction. So it's maw'ud. Within me, everybody has the sense that based on our experience, again, I will see the consequence of that. وَشَاهِدُ وَمَشْهُودُ, which is very interesting now. The witness and the witnessed. Who, what is the witness? Who, what is the witnessed? Who is shahid? Who is mashhud? There's a comment who says this is very interesting because I am reading it as God's promise. The promised day is pointing towards the day of judgment, but also we can find evidence of this within the universe. So the universe and revelation support each other. Yes, Jazakallah khair. So the response within the universe, the creator responding to every action, is a witness. Let's use the word witness here, that there must exist a resurrection. Jazakallah khair. So what do you think? What is shahid and mashhud? Who is witness? Who is being witnessed? Yes.
If I go by the previous, maybe the people on the day of resurrection, and the witness is the day of resurrection itself.
Okay. The people witnessing resurrection are the witnesses, and the thing that's being witnessed is the resurrection, day of judgment. Okay. So it's going to come next, some years later. Okay. What else could it be?
This creation as well, like
This
you are
creation here.
present in this world, and you're seeing everything around you. So the creation is being witnessed, and you are a witness of that.
So in here, it looks like a verb is being brought to our attention, which is witnessing. So, like for example, in today's world, if we were to say, investment and investors, it would fit in a context. Everybody will understand something in today's world if I say investors and investment, because it's a hot topic. Everybody wants to invest to somewhere and get rich. So when it comes to the witness and the witnessed, how important is witnessing for you as a human being? If you feel like witnessing is my number one job in this universe, and we started with witnessing what? Constellations. And somebody came up and said that, oh, you're just cooking it up. But you said, well, I am here to witness, and something is put there for me to witness. So I need to take it seriously. I cannot just let it go. If I am defined or brought here as a witnessing creation, and things are being put before me that are to be witnessed, then I cannot be like careless about this. This is so certain, so central in my life. But when does it become worthy to be put an oath to? Like witness. When does a witness become a useful thing?
Go to trial.
To a trial? Within the court, a witness becomes useful. A human. When can a human become a witness? If there is no, let's say, you keep witnessing things, right? You die and you're gone for nothing. What you have witnessed became nothing with you. It became pointless, useless. Let's take it another way around. you are you are made by chances. What is the value of the things that you witness? Like you just happen to be. You're not made. You happen to be. What is the value of the things that you witness? You are living in a world which is random, which you do not expect any meaning in there because by your expectation, it is random, pointless, meaningless, no pattern, whatever. If this is your perspective, if this is your dogma that you start with, then you do not expect any meaning because of your dogma, though. It is your dogma that there should not exist any meaning. This is why such a perspective would say, oh, Atik, you're cooking it up. Why? Because I think everything is random. Therefore, there should not exist any meaning. And if you claim that there exists a meaning, it must be something that you cook up. It's coming from a dogma. It's not stemming from anything tangible. Right? But it sounds very, as Brother Birkan was using the word, objective. Like there is pattern, it's just you're cooking it up. This is being the attitude, right? But what is objectivism in here? You are starting with, like such a person starts with a dogma saying that no matter what, I'm not going to accept this thing being made. It's just random, no order, no nothing. Everything follows from here. So initially that person is tying himself to deny anyways. It's a precondition that I'm not going to believe. Denial is becoming everything that follows is a consequence of this initial decision. The initial decision is what? I'm not going to believe. The initial decision is that there is no maker in here. Even if everything points to that there must be a maker, my initial assumption is that there cannot be a maker, there must not be a maker of this existence. So this is my assumption, initial assumption. Everything I will build on top of this initial assumption. This is why Shahid wa Mashhud becomes important if I am being made and I'm going to be held accountable. Otherwise, what I see, what I witness doesn't make any sense. Now the question becomes, do you feel like a witness, a useful witness? Is your witnessing something useful for you? Like it sounds very much like, let's say, Qadir is very proud of his muscles, let's say, and he is rightfully feeling like, oh, it's very useful for this and that. And he feels like he thinks that muscle is everything about me. And I go to Atik, to Qadir and say, muscles mean nothing. Like I am sort of collapsing his world because I'm denying what he is finding value in. Take it as witness. وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ. Are you a witness? Or the other one says, no, you're not a witness in this universe. You're just a animal coming in here. Just have your days and eventually you will die and become dust. Can you accept this statement? Or yourself says, no. I am a witness brought here to observe something. I have a duty here. And I'm not only a witness, but I am being witnessed to. Somebody is witnessing me too. Brought me here to witness, and he is witnessing my witnessing. So I am going to be held accountable for my witnessing. Do you feel that? Right? So let's say somebody pays you, it happens, and recently a brother called me for that. He said, well, such and such group of people from Turkey called me and they're offering me a free ticket to Turkey to stay in this town for 6-7 days. So what is going on? Shall I go? Why is he asking that question? Why would somebody pay a free ticket and also all my stay for 6-7 days. And he said they are going to have a special, like a program sort of a thing in which they're going to go through certain things and whatnot. He's being invited there to be a witness to certain things. And nobody offers free ticket to someone. So that witnessing must be valuable for them, because yes, that brother is going to witness something, but he's going to be witnessed by them to say that, well, is our money going for good use? And somebody comes up and says, oh, I mean, don't worry, it's free, right? So just go there and come back. So this is how we live life. Like, yeah, you happen to be here, but never mind, don't care about it. Just live your life. Witnessing, I mean, never mind. Let the guy who paid the ticket think about it. I mean, you would say that, well, I mean, I'm just here. So you ask me to come, I came. Well, there is something hidden there. They were having some expectation. That's why the brother is asking me, is what's their expectation? Can you tell me what they expect? What are you being expected in this life? You are being a witness, you are made as a witness, and you are being witnessed. وَشَاهِدُ وَمَشْهُودُ. So after establishing these three, and if we go back to what is the relevance of these words of oath? We started with وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوج, so things in the existence, and I would like to tie it back to what Brother Birkan said. So Brother Birkan was making a case, as far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, to correct a potentially wrong thinking within our materialist worldview. In our materialist worldview, there is existence that exists independently. Not only independent of me, but every individual thing exists by itself. If I adopt this worldview, and then I say, oh, there's this particle here, there's this apple here. Sultan looks at the apple, I look at the apple. Sultan, do you also see the apple? Sultan says, yes. Well, then, yeah, then there exists an apple out there. This is our way in this time to make sure we are not delusional and whatnot. Brother Birkan's statement is a little interesting. He's saying that in this worldview, though, you are saying that things exist by themselves, pretty much saying that things are gods by themselves. But do things exist by themselves is a question that I should ask first in the first place. Do apple exist by itself? Is it an independent existence? Or I observe an apple, but I didn't create this vision. I am being presented with an apple by the creator of me. This is the world that I live in. Sultan is also being, if he does, being presented with vision of an apple. I can have a discussion with Sultan saying that this is what my maker shows me. Does he show you the same thing? Then maybe we can start a conversation. So it's external to us both. But what is the source of the apple here? The vision of apple. It's both from my creator. So he is the one in this case who is the witness. If I take it as such, the witness is the creator. And being witnessed is, again, we can say that what you observe is manifestation of your creator. So it's a different way of looking at this idea of objective truth, subjective truth, and whatnot. And Brother Birkan is fundamentally disagreeing with the use of term objective, because it's coming from a worldview which says object exists by itself. If you are coming to a conclusion that no, object is being created as subject is being created, because in such a worldview, subject is also an independent entity by itself. But if you think that what I call as object and what I call as subject are both equally creation, then it becomes between you and your creator. But let's leave it there. So in this, yes.
About these ayahs.
Okay.
So maybe tying back what you just said. I was looking at the word, the Burooj, as you said, like its power and one example was given the like Burooj Babi,
Babil.
the Tower of Babel, in which the story goes like they built the tower to reach the heaven or the God, and then the people. The rest of the story doesn't matter. But the tower is there to reach something, right? So, or as you said, to protect something, maybe. And when we read it this way, starting from the Sama, like we take it as the sky and then the constellations, but through our previous discussions on Tuesdays, we have another way of understanding the Sama, right? As a contradiction to the art. Like there are things, like there's a table, and there's the Sama of this table, where this table refers to what it refers to, its maker, for instance. The same way, when we look at the creation, we see that within the creation, there's this order, you can take it as order, or towers that you can climb and see that it's taking you somewhere, right? And in the creation, you see this. Everywhere you look, the things that you observe points to something, takes you something else, to take to something like their maker, right? And the promise also coming from them as well. Like the creation itself, as you mentioned when we applied it to the hereafter, creation itself promises you that there will be a day. And everywhere I look, I see the order, I see the justice, I see the wisdom everywhere. Through these towers, right? I see that they are promising something to me. That there will be this day that you cannot escape. Right? As you said, within every action, I see this day, the hereafter of this action. Right? And the witness and the witness, when we look at creation with this lens, I realize that everything witnesses to their maker. Right? They are a witness of their maker. My phone witnesses a certain quality of my maker and tells it to me. It says, I bear witness, there's an all-wise man, the one. Don't you see it in me? It says. And through that, I witness it as well. So it is both witnessing my phone, the creator, its maker, and also it is being witnessed by me. So tying back to what you said, my entire life, my entire reality is nothing but I'm experiencing or witnessing thing in this creation that points to their maker, that witnesses their makers. This is the reality.
Yeah. So if I see it as such, then it's a witness. If I disconnect it from its maker, it becomes non-existent and meaningless.
Exactly.
And this is where we are.
And there is no Sama anymore.
Yes. So either I am a witness or I am nothing. With the worldview that you mentioned as atheist, in this worldview, I am nothing. Do you accept being nothing? And that's why the idea of constellations, like these letters are constellation of ink. But if you know how to read, if you have some sense of some author, when you look at those letters, you say that, oh, it's an orderly thing, and it refers to a meaning, then you become a witness of the meaning over there. But if you deny the idea of authors or the idea of order, then you become nothing as well, because you're not a witness anymore. You will die and you will become a dust. This is where the distinction then starts. Al-Burooj. When you look at the skies, do you see the constellations? Do you see order? Or when you look at the spring, do you see an order in there? Because spring is another buruj, another constellation, which is meaningfully telling you something, but do you see there? Or you said, well, I mean, string is just a made-up concept in your head. So as a human being, where do you stand? If you can accept that, yes, spring is just a made-up concept, then yeah, if you can live with that, live with that. But as it will come, you will find yourself in a fire pit. The fire pit that you dig for somebody else, you will find yourself in that pit if you deny such a thing.
When you say made up thing, again, starts with the assumption that I can make things up. Like I can create ideas in my mind. So that's already a big assumption there. Can you really control your ideas? Can you really make up ideas?
Yeah. So I need to ask those questions to myself. And if I think, yeah, I can, and if you're happy living with this, yeah, go ahead and live happily with this, honestly. If you're the atheist friend, because as Ahmed was saying, we cannot explain this to an atheist friend. If an atheist friend is happy living with that, good for them. Like if it works for you, Ahmed, or if it works for me, I'll buy that. But for a human, does it work? This is the question. Or such a perspective will burn me. So much so that I would like to take revenge from somebody who is not burning in this fire. Let's say Atik is seeing the pattern and is being satisfied, is being happy, living a happy life. And I am insistingly denying that such a pattern or a constellation exists. And this meaninglessness burns me. I will be very much like want to take revenge from Atik's pleasure, as we will discuss. Interesting. Because if the atheist friend is happily living, I would say, good for you, bro. I mean, go and live your life. Why are you even arguing with me? You shouldn't, right? If you are super happy, and I am the delusional guy here, just leave me to myself. Why are you trying to change my way then, if you are super happy, right? And inshallah, we will come to that because قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. Now, doomed be the makers of the ditch. Like there are those people, as if now it's starting to explain, who made some ditches, some pits, and النار ذات الوقود, of the fuel-fed fire. It's not only a pit, but there's fire in it. إِذْ هُمْ عَلَيْهَا قُعُودٌ, and when they sat by it, now very interesting imagery. وَهُمْ عَلَى مَا يَفْعَلُونَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ شُهُودٌ, and were themselves the witnesses of what they did to the believers. وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. They wanted to take revenge from them for nothing but they kept believing in Allah, like those believers believed in Allah, the mighty, the owner of praise. Very interesting. Like, what is the relationship of the introduction, the oath words, with this? Because the oath word was setting the stage, saying that Yusuf, you see this constellation, you are the witness, and you feel the consequences of your choices. There are certain people who doesn't do that. Or even within you, maybe there's an aspect which doesn't want to take this path. And there's a conflict between the believer who is confirming, by belief we mean confirmer, who confirms that, yes, there's a meaningful pattern there. Yes, I have responsibility. Yes, I am a witness. Between this perspective and the deniers of this perspective, there's a conflict. But in this case, the conflict is starting from the denier. The denier wants to make a pit of fire and watch you in that fire. Like there's this feeling of وَمَا نَقَمُوا, this is the word, like it's in some translations they say they wanted to mistreat or give them harm, but the root of the word is in like intiqam, taking revenge. So why would somebody want to take revenge just because you see something? Just because you consider yourself to be a witness? Where is this conflict coming from? And what does this tell me here and now? So inshallah, we will continue with this next week. But briefly speaking, the I looked at three translations. Two of them were detailed translations. Both of them mentioned that there are up to 10 different things that people narrate about the historicity of this event here. And both said that the common theme among those different cases, where some ruler throws either people, believers, into fire or groups them together and tries to kill them. Like, the bottom line is the deniers are trying to annihilate believers, the followers of messengers. But why does this happen? So this is going to be our question. In the light of the intro verses, those three verses, because it is placing human in a special position as observer of constellation, like the patterns in the existence, meaning in the existence, order in the existence, somebody who is aware of their responsibility, and somebody who is seeing themselves as a witness, and the things before them as things to be witnessed. Inshallah, let's pick it up from here next week. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.